What's up, everybody? This is another episode of Shooting in the Breeze with your boy, ItzJustJP. And I'm very excited to bring back on my very first guest on Shooting the Breeze. No other than Kobe Bryant's former teammate from Lower Merion High School. Great writer, too, as well. He does some great work, Mr. Robby Schwartz. How you doing, Robby?
What's up, man? Good to be back. Good to be back with you.
Oh, yeah, man. You know, I mean, a lot of people want me to pound some episodes out and everything on the podcast, but you know, I've been busy, so but I'm glad to come back on. It's like a special episode too as well, because this past August 23rd and 24th for that matter, Kobe Bryant's birthday on the 23rd and Mamba Day August 24th, and it's just been kind of crazy because this is all about Kobe Bryant for this episode. That you've seen a lot of people in the media, especially like former players, even his own like good friend that came up to the league with him, kind of talking about, disrespecting Kobe in a way. Like, if I would have got Shaq and was part of the Lakers instead of Kobe, I would have won titles too as well. And other people's, from Bleacher Report putting Kobe Bryant at number 11 and the greatest players of all time, and LeBron being better than Kobe. Just all this crazy takes by a lot of people, former athletes and people in the media that never played a sport. What's your take on seeing, your good friend, one of the greatest players of all time, probably the greatest Laker of all time, to be just getting overlooked by media?
Well, it's a great question. And, every August, it's just, first of all, the coincidence of, his birthday being one day before Mamba Day is just, there's something very fitting about that, because I think it's a yearly reminder to people who kind of forget about Kobe and how great he was, to really get 2 days of being just inundated with, you go on Instagram, every newsfeed thing is something about Kobe, one of his greatest games, how much he influenced the league, how much people revere him. And I think that during the rest of the year, it just, I don't think it's, disrespect it's an interesting word. I think because he's gone and he's not here, that he gets skipped over sometimes. It's like people go from the, because LeBron's still playing. And by the way, I'm not a LeBron hater at all. I don't, like, sometimes people get so passionate about things. It's like, because you love one person, you have to hate the other. Like, I don't feel that way at all. Like, you can love both of them. But now, because LeBron is still playing and still very relevant and newsworthy, there's always the LeBron-Jordan comparison. And it's like, how are we just skipping? And who's to say that LeBron should be ranked higher than Kobe? It just like, I think it's because he's not here, and you don't see him talking now. And even though Jordan hasn't played in a while, like, Jordan's still around. They made the movie about him, and I think he will always be number one in most people's books. But I just think that number 2 slot is sometimes like, it's just out of sight, out of mind. And, unfortunately, he's not here to really stay as fresh on people's minds as I think LeBron is, because he's so in your face, and like, everything is always connected to LeBron. It's just, I think that plays a part in it. And I think that the great thing about having those 2 days is that we get that reminder, like, don't forget about this guy. And it was funny when we were talking about what topics we were going to discuss today, something like I had a thought that not that it's my responsibility or my right or my duty, but I think that on some level, it's up to people that knew him, played with him, to keep him in the conversation. Like, not that what I think is more correct than what you think or what Skip Bayless thinks or what Stephen A. Smith thinks. Like, it's, everybody has their opinion. That's the great thing about sports talk and why it'll always be relevant, because there is no absolute answer. Like, you can discuss something till the end of time, and there's never going to be like an official judge that'll come down and say, this is what it's going to be. It's sports talk, it's sports discussion. But on some level, like, I think it is up to the people that knew him and feel this way about him to keep him in the conversation and not let it go 363 days, where they're not talking about him. And then in late August, it's like, oh, don't forget how great this guy was and what he did. And not that it matters, but, probably one of the last guys that'll play for one team his whole career. And like, I know things are different now, and, like, free agency is just completely crazy. But, he was one of the last guys that played his whole career for one team, 5 rings, just I think he was just cut from the same cloth as Michael was, and different from what LeBron is. Not saying that it's better or worse to be that way. I just think he was the closest thing to Mike that we've ever seen. I can't predict the future, but he to me is always the second best player of all time. Like, that's just my opinion. Obviously I'm biased, but I mean, it's like you have to have a little bit when you know a guy so well, but you got to see him up close and personal. But I just think because it's like, I mean, it's been over 5 years since he passed away, which is, like, I thought the snap in the Avengers movies went quick, but this 5 years, like, but quick, like crazy.
Yeah.
And the further you get away from it, the more likely people are to not discuss him and not talk about him, because he's not Michael, and he's not still playing. So I think that's why. I mean, what do you think? I mean, what do you think the reason is?
So I think number one is the recency bias. I feel like when you talk about a current player like a LeBron James or a Kevin Durant or a Steph Curry, and, the young generation, in terms of social media, they probably knew of Kobe. Like, they probably watched him like late in his career, but they didn't really watch like, the Afro Kobe, or don't really remember him a lot, from them days playing with Shaq, but they see like highlights and all that. And they definitely watched him later in his career. I just think they tend to erase history. They tend to like try to go back at the old school fans, because sometimes the old school fans, they'll kind of like disrespect the current generation of NBA players and talk about, like, this is not how it was in our era, like, blah, blah, blah. And I think the young generation kind of got frustrated and kind of responded back. But then this time they kind of like erasing the history of like the NBA, which is kind of like crazy. Like, even like, LeBron controls the narrative of, topics that, be discussed about LeBron and stuff. And all the recency bias, they kind of just erase history. So it's like you can't really forget. You're going to forget about the players that played before, the current players today. So I think that's one. I think that's one thing. It's just a controlled narrative in the media to push more recency bias, more clickbait, more attention grabbing, more hot takes than just pure analysis. I think that's one. Another one. It might be a little controversial, but it might be a little controversial. So Michael left the game in '98, and you're looking for like the next face of the NBA. With your Shaq and Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, and I felt like Kobe was about to get to the face of the NBA, and then the guy named LeBron James came in that everybody just kind of like, get hypnotized about, like, because this guy is the chosen one in high school. He got everything in his game, high IQ and all that, came into the league and basically, kind of took the mental, even though that Kobe Bryant was like the best player for a couple of years and stuff, but everybody just tended to lean towards LeBron. I guess because he's just like had like more of an appeal than Kobe, but like I also think that the whole thing in Colorado is a major, probably a big part of why like people kind of down on Kobe, even though he got himself out of it by the grace of God, and being able to continue his basketball career, winning championships. That was just like a little, black eye, and he just kind of cleared it up with his skill set and being able to do, great performances, changing his number, winning championships. But I think, I just think that whole thing in Colorado kind of played a part for him to not get into the face of the NBA in people's eyes, because they seen, obviously LeBron as like a family guy and great player, young, and I guess Kobe just never got that chance, so.
It's always an interesting question when you talk about what happened in Colorado, because if you don't mention it, people will always say you're rewriting history and you're leaving, you're whitewashing what happened away. Yeah. Like you can't not mention it as part of his story. It's part of the overall story. No, I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. Nobody really knows what happened. No. Something happened, though. We know that something happened that wasn't the smartest decision that he's ever made. But then if you talk about it too much, it's like you're now basing everything that you think about someone on one instance that we don't know exactly what happened. I think it has to be part of the story, but I think it's a part of the story. I think in some people's eyes, it's almost like it humanizes.
It affects the way people look at Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron does have sort of that very clean family man, great family, married for a while. You never hear anything bad about LeBron, and it's an amazing thing to play that long and be in the spotlight for that long and never really have anything like scandalous happen. Like, that's amazing, right? Which is also why I think some people don't like him, because they're like, that's just not possible. Like, nobody can do that. But I do think he's very well thought out with a lot of things that he says and does, and very calculated moves. And he also seems like a great guy. Like, I don't even want to say like he doesn't give me like a overly corny vibe or like a fake vibe. Like, he just could be like a really good guy who loves his family and doesn't get in trouble. Great. Like, that's possible. Although some of the things, just seem a little too rehearsed and planned sometimes. And with Michael, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't perfect. The gambling stuff, what happened to his father. I mean, like, there's some wild stuff that happened, And Kobe, that was, again, just not a good move. Again, whatever happened, we don't know. You knew something bad happened, and but then you have the part where he sort of used that negative in his life as a positive. He turned it into that, and there's a lot of people that look at that sort of ability to turn a negative into a positive. Not what he did, like, to be clear, not what he did, but just taking a negative thing in your life and turning it into a positive. As very relatable to a lot of people, whether it's, family stuff, job stuff, adversity of any kind. And I think that ability he had to change the narrative back into like, I'm going to use this for, not for motivation, that's the wrong thing to say, but like, he used, the image publicly to sort of form this personality and then bring it back into the public. So it's like, there's the number change was more than just changing his number. It was changing his personality, his mindset. And so you have some people that like the relatability of Michael and Kobe and things that happened in their life that weren't always pristine and clean. And then you have the people that like LeBron. They're like, look, this guy is a role model, like great basketball player, great dad, great husband, all that stuff you don't really hear. I mean, again, no one's perfect, right? No one is perfect, but to be, essentially since he was in high school, front and center, Sports Illustrated, #1 pick, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm thinking, like, what's the worst thing you can say about him? Like, there's really not, I don't know, there was something I read about the school he had in Akron, but it wasn't anything that I thought was like, oh, that was his fault. Like, he did something wrong. He just seems like a good guy. And I respect, more than anything with him, is I respect his ability to play at such a high level at an advanced age. It is the craziest thing ever. Like, I don't know, but so I'm 46, and I watch him play, and I'm thinking, like, even like 6 years ago, I'm not running, I'm not jumping at all. Like, jumping is sort of done. And he's playing a lot of minutes, like, every night at a high level. I'm like, how is he doing this? Like, it's like a cyborg on some level. Like, he is just, that level of dedication is to be respected, I think, by everyone. Whether or not you think he's corny or, he doesn't play his best in big games, whatever you want to say about him, I think everyone respects just his longevity. And not just longevity, but it's like playing at such a high level for such a long time. Like, that's really amazing. And all the records that he's breaking, yeah, he's playing for a lot of years. That's true, but you have to play really well for a lot of years to get to those numbers. And I think that when he breaks all these records of scoring and just, I think he's close with something else, but that's what elevates him, I think, sometimes in people's minds. When you hold certain records, how can you not say he's not the best ever? But and that, again, goes back to why sports talk is so great. Do you value rings more than individual accomplishments? Do you value how long someone plays? Like, there's so many factors that go into deciding why someone is the best player of all time. There will always be a conversation about it, and you'll find two people that'll disagree, and then they'll have an hour of sports talk radio, and then it'll always be there.
Yeah.
And I also think too that so Kobe's last game was 2016, I think.
Yes.
And, social media wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
2016. It was still a thing. It was popular, but I feel like it was still sort of ascending. And I often think, because, look, I mean, like when we were in high school, way back in the day, like, that was my old warm-up for high school. This is the most uncomfortable piece of clothing in the world. Like, this thing, it's like a velour warm-up, right? Like I still remember, and it has buttons too. Like, check this out. Like, this is what we used to wear going out to our to warm up my junior year. Actually, the first half of my junior year, those were our warm-ups. They're like from the 70s. Like, the whole look of it. By the way, I stole this. Because we got rid of, and it's also by Champion. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Oh, Champion.
That is old school.
Old school for sure.
So uncomfortable. Like, and the worst thing was, I never took mine off because I never got off the bench. So, like, I had it on the whole game. So I was like on the bench, like, God, this thing is so itchy.
Yep.
So around mid-season, I think it was right before we went to South Carolina. So we went to this thing called the Beach Ball Classic.
Yeah.
My junior year. Beach Ball Classic at the time was the best high school, like, in-season tournament of the year. And by the way, at that tournament that year, it was Lower Merion, obviously, with Kobe, Jermaine O'Neal's high school, Mike Bibby's high school, and a guy named Lester Earl, who played at Kansas, a guy named Shaheen Holloway, who played at Seton Hall, I believe.
Won the McDonald's All-American MVP, I remember.
Stacked. Yeah, stacked. We saw Bibby score, like, I think it was like he had like a 60-point game down there, and you're like, who is this guy? I think he went to a high school called Shadow Mountain High School. We'll have to fact check that, but I think it was Shadow Mountain. But anyway, so right before we went to go that trip, we came in and we had these giant care packages from Adidas. Like we walked into the gym one day and there were 12 piles of gear, right? Warm-ups, new warm-ups. Thank God we got new jackets, sandals, shoes, the shell tops, the old school Adidas shoes. So awesome. T-shirts, I mean, it was, again, like, I'm Jewish. I don't know what Christmas is like. That has to be the closest I've ever celebrated Christmas in my life. I was walking up like, this is all for me. And like, we all had our own pile of stuff. So thankfully we got rid of this and we got like kind of cooler warm-ups. They were like no buttons. But on some level, I think they should go back to that style, make it more comfortable, but like, I feel like, fashion is cyclical, you know what I mean? Like it comes around and I feel like I don't see a lot of like, buttons on warm-ups anymore, but there's something just about being able to like open it up like Superman, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But anyway, so they were like, turn your old warm-up in. And I was like, I'm not turning this in. I'm holding on. I mean, it's like a relic at this point. Like that was from 1996. Anyway, I got off on a tangent there.
No, you're good. You're good.
But the idea of social media in 2016, again, it was there, but it wasn't what it is today. Today, it's like, you're not normal if you're not posting, every day. Like, it's like, well, why don't you post? You know what I mean? Like, and back then, it's like, oh, you're posting. Like, that's kind of cool. You're doing it, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that people always, like, I've been asked, not people always, because I hate when people say that, and people always ask me, like, if one person asked you, people go, yeah, people are always asking me. Someone asked me one time that if social media was more prevalent when Kobe was playing, do you think he would have like posted more like the NBA guys do today? And I was like, I had to hesitate for a second because I don't know.
That's a good question.
My first instinct is no, because but then if you spend some time with it, I think it was just because he didn't have it in high school. Like when we went and practiced before school started at like 5 a.m., we weren't recording it. You would have to have like someone there with like a tripod or like one of those big ass camcorders and like recording the workouts. Now you just have your phone and every workout is documented, right? Like every training session. So it's hard to predict. Like, do I think he would have posted more? Yeah, I think he probably would have, because I think that, sort of agents or PR people would tell you, like, you want to be out there. Like, you want to, like, guys in the NBA post about every workout they do after every game. Like, so I think he probably would have. But there is that part of me that's like, man, he was sort of like old school, kind of, to where maybe he would have bucked that trend. Like the only guy I can think of right now, NBA guy who is like a star kind of, who doesn't post, is like Kawhi Leonard. Like, I don't even know if he has social media. But can you think of anyone else right now that doesn't post regularly?
I would say Nikola Jokic. It always seems like everybody everybody records him and stuff, but like I hardly ever see him on like social media.
That's interesting. That's a good one. That's a good one. It might be because he's not completely sure how to use Instagram, or you think it's because he like just doesn't like all technology and stuff and is more of like a private sort of person.
He kind of reminds me of Tim Duncan in a way, like,
sure.
Not like, like he off the court, like he, goes to his horses and does the races and all that, and like, but somebody's going to record him doing something, but like, he just doesn't strike me as like a guy that uses social media to like, prove how great he is as a player. We just see it on the basketball court on ESPN or TNT. And it's like, man, this guy is just awesome to watch. He just doesn't strike me as a guy that likes media.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if it's a. All right, let me ask you. Let me zero the question. Can you think of a American-born NBA star player that doesn't post regularly?
I really can't think of anybody American just because of like how social media really helps them with their popularity.
Yeah.
It's like everybody uses social media, as an American. Like LeBron uses it, Steph Curry uses it, Kevin Durant. I mean, oh goodness gracious, he's like the king of social media.
He is. Let me ask you a question. But do you think? Because this is where it do you think it matters in terms of LeBron's like image, popularity, wealth, anything? Do you think it helps him at all? Like, I don't see, like, if I'm him, I always try to, I play this game a lot, right? It's kind of a fun game. If I was this person, what would I do? Now, it's completely crazy to do because all variables change, but I'm trying to put like my sensibilities today into the mind of someone who's like playing like a LeBron. Like if I was LeBron, would I be posting every day? Is life not public enough for him? Is there nothing that do I need to see every workout you're doing? Are you proving a point to me and the rest of us? And like Durant, I think Durant sort of has fun with it. Again, I don't know the guy at all. It seems like he's just having fun, but my goodness, he is everywhere. I mean, like,
he was getting at my friend too.
Yeah.
He was going at my friend. They had like a big back and forth. It became like big news and stuff. And I was like, oh Lord.
Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you getting involved with this? People love to create drama for themselves. Like, can we just try to remain drama free? Like, I don't know, but I often think like, like even like, who else do I see that posts? Like Harden, I know posts a lot. Westbrook posts a lot, and like I guess what it proves is that they're just like us.
Yeah,
like just like us. They like and like I forget about that sometimes. Like it's like sometimes you just want to like post stupid stuff. Not that it has a cryptic message or you're trying to create a certain image for yourself. That you just you saw something you like, let me post it. And sometimes I get caught up with the like, well, why is he doing that? He doesn't need to do that. The truth is, none of us need to do anything.
No.
We do it because we like doing it. But like when Durant's getting in like fights with like like it's crazy to me. Like leave it alone, man. Like,
he just can't help himself because like it's always about defending his legacy.
Yeah.
He always has to defend his legacy because there's always somebody talking about the whole thing with Golden State and how it was a poor decision to go to Golden State to join up a team, or if somebody says that KD is not the greatest scorer ever, which kind of happened between him and my friend, it just because he's just said MJ and Kobe was better. He still had Kevin Durant in the top 5 best scorers of all time, and KD took offense to it, and rest is history, right there. So, I mean, that's just Kevin Durant. But at the same time, I don't know if he's sensitive or he's just trolling just to mess with like fans and all that. We just don't know because the one thing about him is like if he respects a debate, like a good take and stuff like that, even though he's going back and forth with you, at the end of the day, he's probably going to be like, hey man, I respect your take, great stuff, and it'd be like a respecter at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that part of what makes it's funny. So like when we're at the beach, mostly every summer. And, my dad, if my dad was on this podcast, he would tell you that Wilt Chamberlain was the greatest player of all time, and there's nothing that you can say to
change his mind.
Nothing. I don't even try anymore. I don't even listen to him anymore when he talks. It's like he doesn't take any information other than what he knows and what he saw. Because Chamberlain, my mom went to the same high school as Wilt Chamberlain, Overbrook High School. Mm-hmm. And my dad actually played with, Earl Monroe in high school. It's even crazier that like, if someone were to say like, oh, your son's going to play with a guy better than Earl Monroe, you're like, yeah, right. Like, no way. But I mean, it just so happened to turn out that way. Anyway, my dad, he's so stuck in his ways about this Chamberlain thing. And like, you can make an argument that Chamberlain's the greatest player ever.
Of course.
You make an argument that Durant's the best player ever. People can have their own argument because it's the way that they look at things. Like there's no way to say, there's no final list. But what I oftentimes have to come back to and remember, like why, like Durant's a perfect example. Why is he so sensitive about this stuff? So professional athletes, I think, basketball included, these guys are so competitive on every level. I mean,
Yep.
you saw the stories about Jordan. I saw firsthand the stuff with Kobe in high school. You know, like he had just come off winning one of the titles. I think it was one of his second, the second two, or the two after the three with Shaq. And there was a book that was written. Some guy wrote a book. I think it was called Showboat. I'm not entirely sure, but it was one of the first times I got interviewed for like a book having to do with Kobe. And the guy was, I was telling him the stories about us playing one-on-one after all stuff. And he was asking me about like what the scores were. And I think that somebody asked Kobe, this is after winning an NBA championship, like, oh, I read in this book that this short bench warmer said that you used to beat him like 100-8 or like 100-7, which by the way is a thrashing, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know how hard it is to beat someone that bad? Like, you would just get tired and give up a couple points at the end. And instead of like, acknowledging it, he was like, yeah, he never scored 8 points on me. Like, he wouldn't even allow that. It's like the guy just won an NBA championship. Could we talk about anything else? Like, but he was like that. You couldn't beat him in a race. You couldn't beat him in a shooting contest. God forbid you lose a drill with him, like he'd want to kill you. But it's competitiveness on every level. So I think when it comes to legacy and where you fall in history, the reason they get so passionate about those subjects is part of what makes them great. To get to that point, to get to that level. And Durant, I think, I don't know if he's like extra sensitive or he responds to everybody who says something somewhat negative about him. Like, there's this side of my brain that says, just let it go, man. Like, why are you engaging this? And then the other side is like, I understand why he's doing that, because he's so competitive. That's part of what makes him great, and that's why he can't let that stuff go, because he feels like he's got to constantly be defending his legacy and giving a reason why he did this and why he didn't do that. And the Golden State thing, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that for an hour. I mean, it is whatever. It happened. It's over. Like, his place is cemented in history. Is it as high as probably he wants it to be? Probably not, but like you said, like most basketball fans will say he's in the top 15 to 20 of all time, maybe go to 10. Somewhere, let's say 10 to 20. Okay, conservatively and just speaking in generalities. He would probably have a problem with that. Like, I would be okay with him having a problem with that, but it's an opinion. Like, it's an opinion. But he does take it far sometimes. I'm always reading about him, like going back and forth with some guy out of Nebraska, or like on like a Twitter account that maybe isn't real. Like, what is this guy? How does he have this much time? Oh, goodness.
Yeah, he's something else though. But like my friend,
I like him. I do too. Love watching him play.
I do too.
Yeah.
They made up I think last week, and I think they both had like valid takes, about what they was talking about, and like they was just like dapped it up, and basically just squashed the beef and all that, and just kind of moved on. But it's just crazy just to see, like, he always got to find some way to defend his legacy no matter what, when someone talks negatively about him and stuff. And but also, like you said, it's just that competitive nature. It's that side. That's what they feed off of whenever they go into games or playoffs or even the NBA finals, is the critics basically going in and basically criticize them. That's just the same thing Kobe said exactly when he did the interview with All the Smoke, one of his last appearances. they was, Matt Ball's asking the question about, like, what hooks you about, like, critics saying this about you. He said everything hooks. Like, saying, like, I'm not a passer. He's trying to prove that he's a passer. I'm selfish. I'm proving that I can pass the ball without being selfish. And then, like, when he think that he accomplished one thing that the critics told him to do, the critics go to another thing. So it's always like a moving goal post just to prove the critics wrong and all that. And then he had to realize that, like, he ain't gonna make them happy all the time. So yeah, so he kind of stopped caring about that. And then, like, once he got older, you start seeing the appreciation, of his legacy, from, the fans and the media. And then all the players that came in after him really idolized Kobe.
I'll tell you a quick story. Actually, last night I met PJ Tucker.
Yes.
In Target up near me.
Nice.
So random. It was so random. So I'm like walking through Target, and I was like, I see this guy, and I'm like, God, that guy looks so familiar. But I don't want to go up to him and be like, are you so and so, and it not be him. And I'm like, okay, great, I'll see you later. Like, walk away all embarrassed. But I see this guy. He's like about 6'5", 6'6", backwards hat, fashionable outfit, by the way. Like not gaudy, but like you could tell, like, is into fashion. I would never be wearing something like that. I'm wearing like a Dunder Mifflin t-shirt. Like, this is my style. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, like, this guy looked like he, like, really cared about fashion. And I'm walking. I'm trying not to be like a creep and, like, stare at him. But I know it's somebody. And then it hit me. I'm like, it's got to be PJ Tucker, who played for the Sixers. But I'm like, that was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I got my nerves together. I'm like, I got to go up to him. I got to go up. So I go up and I was like, excuse me. I'm like, I don't mean to bother you, but are you PJ Tucker? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I introduced myself. I actually pitched him on my movie script about.
Oh, nice.
But the part of this that ties into what you just said, I introduced myself. I said, my name is Robby Schwartz. I was the bench warmer on Kobe's high school team. And he, like, sort of, like, sticks his leg out toward me, and he, like, points toward, like, his calf. He had a Kobe tattoo on his calf.
Oh, wow.
Like, a really nice one, probably like 3 inches of his head.
Oh, wow.
And it took me back. I was like, whoa, shit. I'm like, that's amazing.
Wow.
Right? But when you talk about the guys that came in after him, how they looked up to him, and obviously, when someone passes away, I think the tattoo thing becomes like a way of remembering them forever. Again, talk about remembering him forever. He put his ink on his leg. But I've heard that from a bunch of different guys. But to see it in person and then we ended up talking for probably 9 minutes. I didn't want to creep him out too long, so I was like, I feel like if I can keep it under 10 minutes, it's long enough to be like, oh, I'll see you later. Nice meeting you. But he was really, really cool. I don't want to be those people that say shout out to PJ Tucker, because I feel like that just sounds so douchey sometimes. But, like, he was a great guy, very, very chill. But we talked about just how I can't believe it's been over 5 years since Kobe passed away. That doesn't seem normal. But also, he was just telling me about how Kobe sort of, like, was almost like an older brother to a lot of those guys that came in right after him. Because I think PJ came into the league around 2006. I want to say around that time, 2006, maybe 2005. He's in year 20, by the way, also. I just saw that today. That's crazy. Good for him, by the way. Shout out PJ Tucker. No, I'm just kidding. But he was just, the way he was talking about Kobe. And this is a guy who's played in the NBA for 20 years. To have that level of respect from your peers and some of the best basketball players in the world shows you sort of what level he was on. Mm-hmm. When everybody talks about the way he worked, his will to win, and his drive, like his nonstop drive. And because we're calling back to an earlier subject, because of the lack of social media, you didn't get to see it that much. I mean, the most I think people got a glimpse into his life and how hard he worked was probably that 2015 documentary called Muse that was done by Gotham Chopra. Chopra. I can never say it correctly. It's Deepak Chopra's son. It's Gotham Chopra. But Muse was great, and Muse really focused in on after he had the ACL injury and his recovery and how he sort of, you saw a little bit of just sort of what his work ethic is like. And again, like, who knows if social media was more of a thing, maybe you would have got even more of a glimpse, but you hear stories from the Redeem team about like guys trying to beat him to practice or beat him to breakfast, and like no one, he was nuts. Like that's that, but and that's not it doesn't surprise me. Every time I would hear like one of those stories, I'd be like, yeah, like I saw it, like we were at the high school at 5 a.m. with the janitor opening the door for us when it was freezing outside. And we played one-on-one up to 100 after practice, after we were in school, and after we went to practice in the morning. Like, that's a long day for a high school kid, That's a long, long day. But when you have that work ethic at that age, doesn't surprise me. I mean, like looking back, like it just doesn't surprise me the way his career turned out, seeing those things early on, because a lot of guys are super talented, but they just don't work that hard. And because they can get drafted high and play for 10 years and make a lot of money. And, but he was just different in that sense. And that's really, I think, the thing that when you hear a guy like PJ Tucker talk about Kobe that way, and other guys talk, great players talk about how much they looked up to him, it's like it doesn't surprise me, but I don't know, it's just not talked about as much as, I just don't think he's talked about as much as LeBron and Jordan are. And I don't think I think it's always going to be that way, especially with him not being here anymore. If he was still alive, I think the conversation would be more crowded. I think that Kobe's name would come up as number whatever 2 or 3. But when and you and I talked about when he's not mentioned at all, it's odd. Like it's an odd thing. Like did people forget about it? Like what? I don't understand. Do people not like him because of what happened in Colorado? Do people? Just why are we not talking about him? I guess is the question. It'd be interesting to like poll a bunch of people. Be like, why don't you think we talk about him as much? And you'll get a variety of answers. But I think guys in the league now, even like my nephew who's 11, his favorite player is Kobe. Never saw him play. Like he never saw him play. I don't know if he's his favorite player because he knows that I played with him. But YouTube has really created a platform to where you can just watch everything. All his great games and all his highlights and all the, there's a very funny video that's out there that there was another guy. So there was a guy who was 2 years older than me at Lower Merion. His name's Evan Monsky.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that video?
Yes.
It's one of the funniest things ever.
Yes.
Got into the press conference and like asked Kobe who the best point guard was he ever played with. It was
classic.
So good. So just a hilarious video. And yeah, I mean, it's just, even in that moment, like you see how sort of like, I think things got so serious with Kobe after Colorado and just being in the spotlight that much that in that moment where he saw like a high school friend kind of joking around, you see him like his whole demeanor gets lighter, right? Like, and you almost wish you would have saw more of that side. But when he was playing, he couldn't. Like Jordan was sort of the same way. Like in The Last Dance, you saw all the things that Jordan used for motivation and how he did the same things to his teammates. He punched Steve Kerr. I think he punched Will Perdue. I never got punched. I mean, I got chased. I never got punched. But like, when I was watching The Last Dance, I remember thinking like, oh shoot, that's what he did to us. Like it was the same thing. And that's why I think so many people draw the comparisons, because the way Kobe and Jordan approached the game was the same way Kobe did. It was, he wasn't happy until the finals were over. I remember that the one soundbite where the guy's like, "You're up 2-0. Like, why don't you look happy? Like, job's not over." It's like, what's wrong with this guy? You're up 2-0, man. Like, relax a little bit. Oh man, but yeah, I think that it is interesting. There's 2 times a year I always find to be really reflective. It's obviously the anniversary of his passing. You get a lot of that's more to me of like, it's more of a sad time, because you remember that this is when he passed away, like 5 years ago. Now it's going to be 6 years ago. And but August seems to be more of a happy sort of time. Maybe because it's not winter time also. Maybe because it's the summer, and you get to celebrate his birthday, and then you have Mamba Day, which is very celebratory, but those 2 times of year, it's interesting. I forgot about that, but like those 2 times a year are generally when people get to talking about Kobe a lot more than they do during the course of the year. So I think it's good that you have this platform, and we can discuss this stuff and sort of keep him in people's minds so he doesn't get completely left out. Because the more time goes on, unfortunately, sometimes you now look. I don't think it's going to be like this forever. I think like once you get to a certain point, like 20 years from now, like I don't think he's going to be. I just think right now he's out of the conversation, because you're in this time period where he's not here. And it hasn't been so long to where it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, we're in a weird space right now. So I think it's good just to bring him up. And again, like I have friends of mine and people I sit with on the beach that don't have Kobe in their top 3. I'm like, do I want to take their head and dunk it under the water? Sure, but I'm not. We respect their opinion. When my dad starts talking about Chamberlain and like all the records he has, and like they're incredible. Like if someone wants to say Chamberlain was the best player ever, I can accept that. Because that's how they feel. I just get angry when people don't accept how you feel. Like, when they're like, "Oh, you're crazy." It's like, you're not like the end all be all of basketball. That's what makes conversations like this great, is that we can just have an opinion. Sometimes we might not agree, but like, I mean, look, if someone said something crazy, that, I don't know, like Jamal Crawford's the best player ever, like you'd be like, that's kind of a crazy take to have. Jamal Crawford was a great player. I don't know about the best player ever, but, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think it's good. The more that we talk about him, I think that the way that he played, his influence, his impact, he deserves to be talked about when those conversations come up every time. But whether you like him or not, it's impossible. It just doesn't make sense that you can leave him out of that conversation.
I agree 100% what you said. Shout out to Matt Barnes, shout out to Steven Jackson, all the smoke. They always talk about Kobe and how great Kobe was, and that and Byron Scott, I talked with him. His co-host follow me. They always, every single episode of their podcast, whenever they have a guest, they talk about, can you give us a Kobe Bryant story? There's some people out there still talk about like Kobe Bryant, in a positive way. I still do, because he's one of those players that impacted a lot of people, impacted a lot of players. A lot of players, like I said earlier, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, all influenced from Kobe Bryant, and Kyrie Irving a little bit, So, but speaking of which, about his legacy, they're making a new documentary from Warner Brothers with the 8th pick, talking about New Jersey, or the Nets failing to get Kobe Bryant in in the draft, which I didn't even know, because I thought it was like, because I'm thinking, okay, Kobe got drafted by Charlotte, and then he got traded to the Lakers. I didn't know about the Nets was trying to get him and failing him. So I'm like, when I seen the news about it, I'm like, okay, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so it's actually like a feature movie. It's not a documentary. It's going to be like a movie.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it's a scripted movie, and we got a little. I think. So I remember in '96 when the draft. I think it was on my mom's birthday. I think it was June 26th, 1996, if memory serves me correct. There was, I mean, the internet was at its infancy, so it's not like we could find out stuff or what was going on. But yeah, I remember that. I think it was in one of the 30 for 30s. There was a little more information that was given about this, but from what I remember, the Nets had the 8th pick, and I believe Calipari was the coach back then. I think he was. It may have been his first or second year. I'm not sure, but
I think he was the first year. I think it was Calipari. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Calipari who was there at the time, and they had the 8th pick, and they needed a guard. And I read about what the movie's supposed to be about. It's kind of like they're saying it's going to be a combination of like The Social Network meets like Moneyball. It's going to be all about sort of how that pick turned out the way it did. And if you remember, the Nets ended up taking Kerry Kittles from Villanova.
Yep.
Great. But I like Kerry Kittles, local. I mean, Villanova is like 5 minutes away from me now. But Calipari sort of got talked out of taking Kobe. Like it was remember, like when Kobe came out, Garnett came out the year before.
Yep.
Coming out of high school, it wasn't like what it was later on. Like this, it was really like, I mean, Garnett was like 6'10", freak of nature. Like I think he went 5th overall. But there were teams. I mean, if you look back at the '96 draft, I mean, Kobe probably should have went for, although Iverson got drafted first that year. But like, the fact that he fell to 13th is now looking back, you're like, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there was like a false, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think there was like a false rumor that if New Jersey took him, he was going to go play in Italy. Like pull like a Danny Ferry, where like, instead of going to the Clippers, he went and played in Rome, I think. But I don't know how much truth there was to that. I think they really leaned on the fact that like his father played professional ball in Italy and he really wants to go back there, so don't take him. Like you're trying to scare him out of not taking him, because the master plan was fall to Charlotte, the trade is all set, boom boom, that's how we get him to become a Laker. And I've read like, and again, I don't know exactly what was true and what's not, but like I've read reports that like it was always part of the plan. We're going to bluff New Jersey out of there. We're going to, Jerry West had this all set up to where he's going to trade Divac and somebody else for the 13th pick. And like the plan was always for Kobe to become a Laker. Like even going back to like high school, this was the plan. Like when Adidas showed up and dropped off all of our gear on the floor of the Laura Marion's gym. Again, I don't know exactly what it was. It's an interesting premise for a movie, and I think what they're going to do, if I had to guess, it's like I think what they did, what they did with Air, where like you don't really see Jordan, like you saw like side from the back, but they never showed Jordan like the guy who was playing him, like his face on camera, which was freaking brilliant and a great movie. I mean, Air,
yes,
it was about Mike. It's about Michael Jordan, but it's not about Michael Jordan. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like who are you going to get to play Michael Jordan? Like that's a very difficult thing to pick. And I think Kobe, like it's going to be the same sort of thing. I think it's going to focus the stars of the movie. I think are going to be more of the guys wheeling and dealing, getting him to go to LA more so than the actual guy playing Kobe, because you're not really telling Kobe's story. You're just telling the story of what happened on draft night with Kobe. It's intriguing, and for me too, it's like anytime I see a movie about Kobe, I'm like, oh shoot, like, yeah, here we go, like something else, coming out. But I mean, he had such a fascinating life that, you could very easily do this. I don't know if anyone will actually ever do like a story like his story, you know, like his story is uniquely his, obviously, and I think out of respect for the family and for him to try to do his story would be kind of tough, you know. It's like, again, like you're gonna get somebody to play Kobe, like that is not easy. I think that's what they figured out with Air, and they're like, we're just going to show half Jordan's face, not have a guy actually play him. So I think it's going to be good. I think it's in development right now. I think there is a script that was written. But I tell you, I like Moneyball, and Social Network is one of my favorite movies of all time. So if they do something even close to that, I will definitely be watching it, as much as it hurts to see a movie about, you know, Kobe being done. It sounds good, you know. And Calipari, going back to the draft, I mean, he never recovered from that. I think he was only with the Nets for like another year or so.
Couple years, because he was in the '98 playoffs with facing the Bulls and
yeah, that's right. So that was like 2 years later. But think about, you always do the what if. Like you brought up something we glossed over this, but you talk about the what ifs. Like, what would Calipari's career as a head coach in the NBA would have been like if he had Kobe instead of Kerry Kittles? You know,
I just don't know.
That '98 playoff series would have been a lot more interesting. You know, and I think on that '96 or that '98 Nets team, I think Kendall Gill was on that team.
Yeah, I interviewed him, and he talked about that Nets team.
It was Kendall Gill. That was Kendall Gill.
Great guy. Yeah. Great guy. Kendall Gill, Sam Cassell, Kerry Kittle, Keith Van Horn.
Yes. Was Jason Williams on that team?
Yes, because he was an All-Star that year. He was an All-Star that year. So yes, Jason Williams. I'm trying to think of who else was on that team. Because that's all the names I could think about. Yeah, Sam Cassell, Kendall Gill, Kerry Kittles, Keith Van Horn, Jason Williams. It's a nice team. Unfortunately, they faced Michael Jordan and the Bulls in that first round, and yeah, there was just
If memory serves me correct, and again, I'm as I get older, my memory is not at what it used to be. I think Game 1 of that series went into overtime. I think.
Yeah, one of the games went in overtime for sure.
I think it was Game 1, but I'm not 100% sure. You talk about like what would have. It's funny you mentioned this again, going back a little bit. I've heard. I'll start with Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway was the first guy that I remember hearing say, "Well, that should have been me," when Shaq was winning with Kobe. Yeah, I would have won. Maybe not. Who knows? Like, I don't, like, if I would, if I say, hey, if I was 6'6", I'd be playing in the NBA right now. But maybe not. Again, it goes back to why sports talk is so great, because you can throw out these hypotheticals, and guys do that a lot. And again, part of me thinks, why is he saying that? Like, there's no way of proving or not proving that. There's no way. And guys always do that. Well, if I played today, I would have averaged 45 points. Like, I don't know that. Like, we don't know that. It's impossible to know. But then the other side of me thinks, I understand why he's saying that, because guys like that are so competitive. They feel like they have to throw that out there. Well, if I would have played with Shaq in the early 2000s, we would have won 5 rings. And I mean, oh my God, I loved Penny in the mid '90s. Like I think I had an Orlando Magic starter jacket, probably way too big for me, but I'm pretty sure I had one. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. I mean, he was great.
Yeah.
But, no one knows, if he would have won, if he would have stayed in Orlando. I mean, it would have been awesome to see that play out, but these hypotheticals about if I played with this guy or if I played in today's league, it's just like, sometimes I feel like guys say that just to get people talking about it. Because again, it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation to have. But I just don't know, like, why we feel the need to say that, And I love Penny. I mean, the little Penny commercials were some of the greatest commercials ever made. Oh, they're just so good. And they had, I think they had, it was the 1 year with Horace when they went to the finals, that was one of my favorite teams of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that starting five for Orlando, I think it was five.
Oh, man, you talking about Penny Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott, Horace Grant, Shaquille O'Neal. You had Brian Shaw coming off the bench. You had
Anthony Bowie,
Donald Royal. They had Tree Rollins. They had a really nice team. And I forgot the coach's name. Was it Brian Hill? Yeah, Brian Hill. Yeah, he was the coach, and that was a really fun team. We always said that Orlando team. A lot of NBA legends said that Orlando team could have won a couple titles if they would have kept Penny and Shaq together. But Orlando kind of screwed themselves in the foot. You know, they gave Penny his deal, but then when it came to Shaq, it was just like nobody didn't want to speak up for Shaq. And
you have that backwards. Shaq left first because Shaq was a free agent before Penny was, and they were thinking about saving money for Penny the next year, and they lowballed Shaq, and Shaq got pissed and was like, get me that. Like, to think about that, like we think about that now, like they let Shaq, a young Shaq, leave. Like it's the craziest thing. It's one of the worst decisions like in the history of basketball. Like, let that guy walk out the door. Like, you just give him whatever he wants. They tried to give him less years. They offered him, I remember this because I've seen that 30 for 30 like 1,000 times. I think they offered him 4 years, $80 million, which was
he wanted $100 million
a year. And he was going to take it. But then Mourning got like 7 years, 115 or 110. And then Shaq was like, well, if he's getting that, I got to get like 150. And Orlando didn't want to pay him and let him test free. And it's just it's just crazy. I mean, it is just, and it changed the course of history for Orlando and for the Lakers, like, but I don't know. Who's the other guy? Who else made a comment about if they played with Shaq, they would have had the rings? I know Penny's the guy that comes to mind.
Tracy McGrady.
McGrady said that too.
McGrady said that. And, that was kind of surprising, T-Mac saying that because, T-Mac always been supportive of Kobe. I know he still supports Kobe because he loves Kobe because they're very close. Yeah. But, like, for him to say that, it was just kind of interesting because it was just like, even though he said at one point, because someone asked him, what teammate would you love to have play with? He always said Shaq. And then, he just made that comment. He said, if you replace Kobe with me and Shaq could have won a couple rings. But I guess people just don't realize, like T-Mac was a great player. I don't think he worked hard, but I don't think he had that work ethic like Kobe did. Like, I don't think he had that work ethic like Kobe did. If T-Mac and Shaq played together, like, could he withstand Shaq and his ego? Because, Shaq had a huge ego. Kobe dealt with it and everything. And, they bickered and fought and everything off the, in practice and all that. But then they always come together in them games, together and get the job done. Would T-Mac be the same way?
Yeah.
Playing with Shaq. There's always these questions. Yeah, going off talent, T-Mac was a great talent. Did he have the work ethic like Kobe did? Would he withstand the egotistic that Shaq had? I'm not, Shaq has an ego, but could he withstand that? Because Kobe did. So I guess people just trying to make it they always want to simplify something like saying oh man, if I had Shaq, I would have won this amount of rings. Yeah, Shaq was a great player. He was a great player. Nobody ain't denying that though. But for you to think that you can win championships with Shaq because Kobe did, I mean, it's just it's crazy. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Again, there's part of me that thinks guys say that because they believe it to be true, and again, that's just the way that they are, which makes them so great. And then the other part of me thinks sometimes guys just say stuff, again, so they get talked about. Everything that look, every statement that someone makes publicly is not made because they really believe it. I mean, look at half the TV shows on about sports. I mean, there's no way that guys actually believe what they're saying. Like, we know that. And I'm okay with that because to me, it's a TV show and it's entertainment. And I don't look at it like, I don't go to First Take to necessarily find out the intricacies of basketball, right? And really have like honest discussions that are reasonable. And by the way, I am a massive Stephen A. Smith fan. I love Stephen A. Smith. I watch Stephen A. Smith because he's entertaining. Like, he's an entertaining person. And I'm watching TV. I want to be entertained. That's why I watch TV shows, why I watch movies. You know what I mean? Like, he is, he's great to watch. But I don't go to that show because I want to learn about basketball. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different way of receiving information. And sometimes I think not necessarily Stephen A., but other people on that network and on every network, they just say things because sometimes the most outlandish things will garner you the most attention.
That's exactly what it is.
That's just the truth, right? I think it's true from all of us.
Yep.
Because no one wants to sit there and listen to a reasonable person talk in a monotone voice about something. I want to see guys get really crazy. I want to see them say outlandish things. I want to see them yell at each other. I want to think to myself, oh my God, they're about to fight. Meanwhile, I know they're not fighting. No one's fighting. Like, they're talking. It's a TV show. So that's always the thing I have to go back and forth on. And sometimes, like, I'll be watching, like, we were watching First Take, and like my dad will hear them say something and he'll be like, oh my God, did you hear that? I'm like, Dad, again, they're on TV. Like, just please keep that in mind. You know, I remember Skip Bayless was like all on the Tim Tebow bandwagon. By the way, and I will also say, I loved Tim Tebow. I thought he got a raw deal, and I think he actually could have played quarterback for a long time in the NFL if someone gave him the chance and tailored the offense around him. I really do think that. But Skip took it way, way too far. And I don't know if he was saying that just to be different or if he really believed that.
He really believed it.
It's funny sometimes, really. Yeah, and I think that when guys get asked about, like, or when guys make statements like Penny, and it's actually interesting, they both played for the Magic, and I think McGrady was number one as well. Wasn't McGrady also number one?
Yep.
That's weird. That's
weird. He said his favorite player was Penny Hardaway, and Penny was his MJ to him. So
Penny was great for a couple years. God, was he good, man. That team was fun. It's funny. I have some like random basketball shirts, like really random. And one of them is a 1995 Orlando Magic t-shirt that I got.
Nice.
I got on the Jersey Shore for like $3 at the end of summer sale. I was like, oh my God, I'd love that shirt. But yeah, that team was just great. But, it's not as simple as like you said, you can't simplify and say things like, well, if you remove this person and put me in there, we would have won this amount. That's not the way it works. Like, one change, it's like script writing, right? So like, you're writing a script and everything in the story has to make sense with what happens next.
Yeah.
Everything happens. So you change, like, I can't go to page 84, make one change, and think, oh, yeah, I'm done. That's it. No. It affects this and this and this and this. And some reason when guys say things like that, they don't think about everything else. Like, it's not as simple as remove you, I step in, we win this many. It just doesn't work that way. Not at all. And yeah, I don't know. I would love to get some truth serum and be like, do you really think that? Like, I really just sometimes would like to know, like, some of these takes and some of these, who I think is better than this person, like what someone really thinks. Like, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it's better for people just to get a reaction out of people than to be sensible, right? Yeah. Because it is entertainment, like, you're not going to put out, you're not going to edit this interview and take the most sensible things and put them out there. People will be like, it's boring. Like, let me go somewhere else, right? Like, you want the stuff that like pops. You want stuff that intrigues people and gets people to be like, oh, I never thought about that. Or, that's an interesting take on this. But I try as much as I can just to be somewhat sensible in my approach to how I feel about things, and especially when it comes to the greatest player, I always preface things by saying, like, look, I am a little biased. It's impossible for me not to. I have a Lower Merion jersey hanging on my closet, right? Like, it's hard for me to be completely unbiased when I think about where Kobe falls in the pantheon of the greats. It's hard. But I do. I will probably always have him at number 2. Jordan, to me, I don't know if it was because he was first or because he did it just better, but he's just my number 1. And that's it. He's my number 1. It doesn't have to be, it's not my dad's number 1. We know that. I mean, we know who that is. But that's just the way it is. It's funny, you mentioned something else earlier today about the Mount Rushmore of Kobe Bryant games.
I was getting to that, yes.
Yeah. That's an interesting, as much as I completely dislike the Mount Rushmore, like, I gotta tell you, like, it's so funny to me, like, if you were to say to me, like, top 4 Kobe games of all time, like, what are your top 4? Like, it just doesn't sound, I think because when you say Mount Rushmore, it has a certain panache to it. Like, they're like, give me your all-time best 4. No, scratch that. You're Mount Rushmore. You're like, oh shit, like Mount Rushmore. I got to get serious here. Do you want to do like, you do one, I do one, or do you want to do like your 4, my 4? Like, how do you want to do this?
Like, if you want to make it creative and make it like a draft, and then I can't pick the game that you pick.
I love that.
I like that.
Oh, that's great. A draft.
Let's do that.
Yes.
Let's do 5. Let's do 5, and then we'll just like go back and forth, and like that's something creative I could do. So
it can't be in Mount Rushmore because it's 5.
Nah, no Mount Rushmore. We'll just do a draft of the 5 Kobe Bryant games.
Since this is your show, you please go first.
No, you're the guest.
I gotta go first.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So I'm going to pick one that I know you're not going to pick because I was there. My junior year in high school, Lower Merion, Coatesville.
Richard Hamilton. Yep.
Richard Hamilton and Kobe.
Yep.
It was one of the greatest games I've ever seen. It was just, me sitting there, I'm like, what am I watching? Like, where am I right now? I'm sitting there with my uncomfortable warm-up on, sweating and itching profusely. And these future NBA stars were just going back and forth and back. I mean, and the play was at such a high level. I'm pretty sure the game was at the Palestra. I think it was at the University of Pennsylvania. And it was just like, and we, now I had nothing to do with it, but we obviously came out on top. But that to me was, I always think, like, it was just something I'll never, ever forget. And I had a great seat for it. I was courtside, right on the bench, watching all this go down. That'll be my first pick.
No, that's a good one. Because the reason I'm laughing is because I think Richard Hamilton told a story about that game. He said, like, he thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread out of Pennsylvania. Like, I'm the best player and stuff. And then somebody was like, well, there's a guy that's like 6'6", that's a little taller than you, that's better than you, and he plays for Lower Merion High School. And Rich was like, what? No way. And then they got to face each other, and then he realized the boy was good, and ended up winning the game. And Richard Hamilton is just like, yeah, he said he's seen the killer since day one, and we're roommates too as well, and played at the McDonald's All-American game together. So yeah, he talks positively about Kobe. So yeah, that's a great first pick.
And by the way, no No disrespect to Richard Hamilton, unbelievable player. I mean,
yes,
and in high school, that game was like
ridiculous.
And like he was really good. I mean, he's one of the answers to the trivia question. Guys won an NCAA title and a world title. I mean, he was the man. Rip was, talk about a motor. That man never stopped working.
He was unbelievable.
He was great. It was weird to have two guys that were, I mean, Coatesville is not far from here. It's probably 25 minutes, half hour away. And just to have that much talent in the suburbs of Philadelphia is crazy.
So that's a really good first pick. My first pick, obviously, I would have to say, because this is a lot of Kobe Bryant games.
By the way, real quick, I want you to keep thinking, but don't say it. I'm gonna jot down what I think you're gonna say.
Okay. Just let me know. Just let me know what you think, because I think I got it right now. So, but yeah, just take a guess who will be my first pick.
Okay. This is what I think you're gonna say.
All right.
I have it written. I stopped writing.
All right.
Go ahead.
My first pick, I would say, is the takeover game in Game 4 of the 2000 NBA Finals, when Shaq fouled out and Kobe took over that game. Like, it was just awesome to see, like, Kobe kind of like, coming in and like, it's like almost, it's not like the first time that you've seen like, Kobe closes games and stuff like that, but like it was just a sense of, Shaq, does his thing, dominates, but then when it comes to clutch, close game situations, Kobe's the person that's going to close it out against a really good Indiana Pacers team with Reggie Miller and all of them. So that game is going to be my first pick.
By the way, this is what I wrote.
I was going to put that as my first pick.
So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that as my second pick.
You go ahead.
I left the door open for you. I mean, look, you know what's funny about the 81-point game? If, again, memory serves me correct, didn't he get taken out of the game with like 6 minutes left in that game, or like something like? I feel like he came out of that game with like a significant amount of time left on the clock, which always leaves the question of like, oof, God, if he played the whole game, like how close could he have got to 100?
I know, right?
Which would have been great, because then I could have shut my dad up about the 100 points. Like, I think that's why I'm so upset that he didn't play the whole game, because like I'm like, man, if he would have got 100, then I would have had the argument, like, because that always gets thrown out there. Like, did he ever score 100 points? No, he scored 81, which is pretty darn good. But that game was like, he was just in another universe. I mean, score that many points is just nutty. And I just remember that game. It was, I think, Toronto Raptors. I'm pretty sure it was the Raptors.
It was.
Raptors, yeah. And like, it's just, second highest point total
in
all
history.
Time.
Mm-hmm.
How can you go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a great pick. That was going to be my first pick, but then I was like, I really like the takeover game a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Shaq fouled out. That was going to be my number one pick. My second pick, there's two in mind. I really want both, but I have to choose one. I'm going to take the 61-point game at MSG when with that story when he was watching Batman and like he was studying the Joker and like came into the game like focused and basically like didn't even talk to nobody at all, and he just went out and just eviscerated the Knicks. Wilson Chandler tells this story like he was just like he just couldn't do anything. Like he even like Spike Lee talking all the trash and Kobe just shut him up. That game is just it's just awesome, especially that footwork he did on somebody. I forgot what it was, but it was just like peak Kobe right there. So that would be my second pick.
Good one. I'm gonna go with his last game of his career. Because there's two things I remember about that night. Number one, it was the same night that Golden State
got 73 wins. Yes.
Like, that was the same night that happened.
I watched it. Yes.
Yeah. And like, you're like, I don't know how many people were actually watching Golden State because Kobe was going crazy. Or maybe that was the early, I forget what.
No, it was, it happened at the same. So the Kobe thing, I think Golden State was beginning that game, but like, it was almost like around the same time because I was flipping the channel back and forth. So.
But to have things end that way, it was just like, you close your eyes, I can still see, Snoop Dogg going crazy.
Yep.
And just to have things end that way, even though the season was, what it wasn't like they were winning the finals, or even going to the playoffs. There was just something, there's something so beautiful about that game, and also so sad because like you knew watching it, because like I remember times that night where I'm like, why is he stopping? Why is he retiring? He scored 60. Like what? Like why would you stop? But I think for him it was more about Kobe had this thing. I remember he always would say, even in high school, like. He I don't think he ever. I'm trying to think if he ever missed a game due to illness or. I remember he broke his nose in practice one day, one time his senior year, and played with a mask on. Like 2 days later, or 3 days. I mean, it was like he just wouldn't miss games. He wouldn't allow that to happen because he had this thought that there's going to be somebody at that game, and that might be the only time that they might see Kobe play in person. And he felt this obligation to give them something to remember, to give them a memory, right? A show. And that's what that game was, for everyone to witness, right? So you didn't see him play a lot, or maybe you didn't see him play a lot the last couple of years. Your last image is not him hobbling off the court after tearing his ACL and shooting a free throw, which again, that's even insane, like to do that. But it's him scoring 60 points, Mamba out, drop the mic, bam.
Buff it.
It's a showman. It's the showman's way of going out. And I just remember that night, it was just like every and it didn't go. Didn't he not start out well? Like I feel like the game, like he was like off in the first quarter.
He was completely off. I think Byron Scott told the story that he was just like, because like the plan was to give him the ball almost every possession.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Let him shoot because they were facing a bad Utah Jazz team. Right, yeah. And he didn't start off well, and then he started kind of like getting himself going eventually, and he just put on a hell of a performance, and Utah was up and Kobe just went crazy, and
he went Kobe. Kobe went Kobe that night. Like he went full on Kobe, and he got hot, and you're watching it, and it was like every time he scored, there was a buzz that was like building that you could feel like through the screen. And again, you're like, why is this guy retiring? But then you're like, he's leaving it all out there.
Yes.
Like, he's shooting every time and you still can't stop him. And those baskets, by the way, like there was always a part of me that thought like, oh, Utah's going to like take it easy on him.
Yeah.
Those baskets he was scoring were not easy. Like they were all contested shots. Like he always found a way to bring up something that just other people were not capable of doing. Like he had that ability to elevate when the moment called for it more times than not all the time. See Utah in the playoffs almost 20 years earlier, right? But yeah, that game was just magic. I mean, really, it was like, it was like P.T. Barnum, like putting on the show of shows in their last one of the year. Like it was just, It was perfect. It was the perfect way for him to go out. So that would be my third pick.
That was going to. I was choosing between that or the 61-point game at MSG. Both of them have like incredible stories.
Yeah.
So I knew you was going to get the 60-point game. My third one is going to come out of nowhere too. The 55-point game against Michael Jordan. Just because of the story of the last game. I think the Wizards won, and Michael told Kobe, you can have the shoes, but you never fill them. And that pissed Kobe off for weeks. And the next time, like, he didn't even talk to his teammates. He avoided his teammates. Like, he didn't even talk to him. Phil Jackson eventually told the team that, Kobe's kind of pissed off Michael said that. So when they see them the next time, he went off for 55 points and, like, just basically proving to Jordan, like, I can fill those shoes and all that. And they had and what was cool about that game, they had a nice little moment when they bumped into each other, and then Kobe, was punching him on the stomach and all that, like buddy, and picked them back up because Jordan fell. So that game always sticks out just because of the story before he went off for 55 points. So that would be my third Kobe Bryant game.
Good one. I'm gonna go with my fourth pick. I'm going back to high school. I'm gonna go my junior year, the year we won states. Kobe was a senior. State semifinal against Chester High School. Yes. Again, just like the one play that will always, like, it just stands out over a lot of other high school plays for Kobe game was in overtime. And by the game was Chester High School was probably Lower Merion's biggest rival. Actually, probably still to this day. They always seem to play each other. Like they've played each other in the state championship before. Chester always has great teams. Produced a couple NBA guys too. I think, which Jefferson was it? One of the guys, was it Ron? Somebody Jefferson went to Chester, but the team just always had stacked team. John Lenahan went there, played D1 ball back in the day. Just really tough city team. Lower Merion's a tough, but we're in the suburbs. Like, we're a suburban school, right? Like, Chester was like intimidating, tough team, and we played them a lot. Like in my junior year, we played them in the district final and the state semifinal. Beat them both times, but they were battles. And in the state semifinal in overtime, Chester missed a foul shot. It was like toward the end of the game. Kobe grabbed the rebound, had a guy like on his hip on the way up. I mean, he split two defenders with like an in and out dribble and then got fouled and one. And yes. I've been in a lot of situations in a lot of arenas where the buzz and the pop has been loud. I've never heard a place like that. It erupted. It was almost like the bleachers were going to like explode into the rafters, and it sealed the game and sent us to the state championship. But that game was just like, it was just like, you're watching this and you're just like, you're seeing this guy take over in this moment. And just that play was electric. I mean, you could feel it like as he was coming down the court. Like they had like a blockade up and he like split these two guys and then hammered the and one. And it just, I'll never forget that sound. So that would be my fourth pick.
That's a good one. I figured he was going to say Chester. I figured he was eventually. My fourth one would be the playoff game against the Phoenix Suns in 06. Yeah, 06, when he hit those game-winning shots. Hit that game-winning shot that sent it to like overtime, and then he hit that famous clutch shot. I forgot who was on him. I don't know if it was Roger Bell or I forgot who it was, but he hit that pull-up jump shot, win the game, did the fist pump, and then did the jersey thing. I mean, just Kobe Bryant-esque. So that would be my fourth pick.
All right. So for my last one, this is going to be a very different sort of choice. But I think when you talk about really games that helped shape Kobe as a player, I'm going to take that playoff game against the Jazz where he had all this.
Yep.
And there's a very specific reason for that.
Yep.
I think that, you know, with storytelling and script writing being my main source of thinking when it comes to this answer, is when we accomplish something, it gets elevated because of the adversity we've gone through. That's why we want our heroes to struggle. That's why we want our superstars sometimes to fall and get knocked down so we can see what they do afterwards. You know, it's like when Rocky says, like, it ain't how hard you can hit, but how hard you can get hit, and keep going and keep moving forward. And, you know, you hear about that a lot, and it's a very cliched sort of thing, you know. But I remember watching that game and, you know, again, never seeing him struggle like that before. I was like, what is going on? Like, this is just bizarre. I mean, it was airball after airball after airball. And I'm like, and then now you look back on it and you're like, how did he keep shooting? Like, what? Like, that's the craziest thing. Like, I have something go wrong. Like, if I reach and I get my finger pinched, I'm not going back in there and getting it pinched again. Like, I learn from that mistake and move on. But that's not the way he thought. Next one's going in. Next one's going in. Next one's going in. And we're out of the playoffs. And if you think about it, though, I think that loss and that, I guess embarrassment is the right word, it pushed him even more. We talk about the motivations he always looked for, the critics. God almighty, was he getting
blasted.
I mean, he was getting flamed after that game. Who does this kid think he is? Why would he shoot? You know, and it's like, and one story I always heard about what happened after that game, which makes total sense to me, is that they flew back to LA because the game was in Utah. It's so funny how Utah is connected to their last game, you know, and this game too. But went home, didn't go home. Went to like a high school that was open, or he knew the janitor there, and he shot all night till the sun came up. And if I didn't like know him, I'd be like, that story sounds made up, right? Like, it's a good story. It's like something I would write. Like, oh, here's a good idea that he's this crazy that he's going to go shoot at a high school all night. But knowing just the way he reacts to things and how he doesn't let negative things hold him down, that makes total sense. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he did that. And I think that having that, you remember that next year he came back, he was a different player.
Yeah.
He was a different player that next year. And I think it was a lot because of what happened in that game and the criticism he took and just the failure that was so widely viewed because it was the playoffs, national television. He was, you know, why is this kid taking all these shots? And he keeps airballing it. Like, stop shooting. But I think it made him the player that he ended up becoming.
That's a good one. I was thinking about that too as well. And he grew his afro out that next year, so he became different. All right. Yeah. And Robby always says this is like the reason they kept giving him the ball because nobody else didn't want the ball in that moment. And then also he was hot too as well. Yeah. He was hitting some shots before those L balls too as well. So he was like the go-to guy right there. So that game always sticks out. You know, I want to do some honorable mentions before I do my last pick. You know, the 62-point game against the Mavericks. Then you got the you know, the Carmelo Anthony Kobe Bryant duel in the Western Conference Finals in 2009. You have the you have the 2004 All-Star game in Philly, or not 2004, 2002? I think it was 2002 when he got booed out the building in Philly and he won MVP. Yeah. You know, I could talk about that game. And there's some other memorable games from Kobe. The one I really choose and probably is my favorite game to go back and watch is the 1998 All-Star game. When him and Jordan went at it, it was like a chance for Kobe to prove to Michael that he, you know, show me what you got, you know, and then I'm not going to back down from the challenge. And he went out there and took the challenge, even though, you know, he was even though he was, Michael was scoring, but Kobe was giving it back to him. And that was like one of the best All-Star games of all time to watch, was just him and Michael just putting it on a show. And even though the East eventually won the game, but to see Kobe that young going against Michael Jordan and basically just was scoring. Now, kind of upset that George Karl kind of sent him out because he could have had over 20 something points, but that was such a memorable All-Star game to watch. Was his very first one.
And do you remember where that game was?
The game was in New York.
That's right, Madison Square Garden.
And
that definitely added to the allure of that game. I mean, being there and just that was incredible. And can I do one honorable mention as well?
Yes, you go ahead. Yes.
All right. So again, I'm going back to high school. This was the only time that Kobe and I were on the court together at the same time. I think it was the first game of the year. We were playing Upper Darby. At Upper Darby, we were killing them. We were up like 40 points. And I subbed in for Kobe. So we were on the court. So I checked in for Kobe, and for about 3 seconds we were on the court together. That's my honor.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh my God. It was legit. And I would love to be able to tell you I played together more and threw him alley-oops and games. Never. That was the only time we were on the court together during a game in the time that I knew him.
Man.
Oh my God, so funny.
That is hilarious. Yeah. And then going back to that All-Star game in '98, he was voted as a starter, and he was coming off the bench for the Lakers because he had Eddie Jones was the starting shooting guard who was an All-Star himself, and then being able to get all them votes and being able to start just tells you just like Kobe's the next one. Like, this is the kid you got to watch. So that's always been like really cool to me to see though. So, but man, I would love to talk Kobe some more. Like we could even have like a week-long conversation without even logging off just to talk about the greatness of Kobe Bryant. We wanted to come here and celebrate how great of a player, how great of a person Kobe Bryant was, why he was overlooked on social media or all these rankings, and why people kind of disrespect him in a way, which is kind of crazy to me. But there was nobody else like Kobe, and there was never going to be another Kobe Bryant ever again. And I appreciate you, Robby, for coming on to Shooting the Breeze. We definitely got to do another episode for sure, because you're my first guest, and great episode. People loved it. They're gonna love this episode, and we got to keep making episodes. So
yeah, I think it's interesting. We were talking about just the different times of year. Like I feel like around this time, early September, late August, and then like in January, I think that's a good time to sort of, just keep them in people's minds. Not that I think that it's funny. I don't think it's done intentionally a lot. I really don't. I just think that it's like everything else in life. As we keep progressing forward in years, like our attention spans get shorter and shorter. So the things that we remember, if it's not right in front of us, we forget it. Like we just don't think about it. It's just we're so fast paced with everything now that sometimes people get forgotten about because they're not playing or they're not around. And it's unfortunate. But like I said, I think that having platforms like this to discuss these things and just talk about them, because his influence and impact will never go away. It just that will be there, and it's not just for basketball; it's just for life. I mean, it was funny going back to that PJ Tucker story. So when I saw him and I figured out who it was, I always have this moment where I'm like, I get a little scared about approaching someone, especially in Target on like a Tuesday night. Like the guy's just trying to buy a crock pot, for crying out loud, and he's got this maniac coming up and like pitching him a movie, like right in aisle 42. But like, and I said this to PJ. I told him, I said, you know, when I saw you, like there was a part of me that was it's always a little fearful about being told no, like, I'm not interested, I don't feel like talking right now, right? But in almost everything that I do and every decision that I make, especially that's something that's fear-based, I oftentimes think about Kobe and what he would do, or if he saw me have an opportunity to go after something and not go after it because I was scared. Like, he would not allow that. He wouldn't want that to be how people live their lives. His message, more than anything, is like, if you want something, if you want to be the master of your craft, whether it's content creation, whether it's script writing, whether it's basketball, like, do the work. Do not be afraid to fail. Like, put in your time. There's going to be setbacks. Air balls in the Utah game, you know, things are not always going to go your way. The relationship with Shaq fell apart. Like, things happen, but you can always control what you do. And you can put out as many videos as you want. You can write as many scripts as you want. If you put in the time and dedicate it to yourself, you shouldn't be afraid to fail, or at least to try. I mean, you're not always going to succeed in everything that we do. Everything we do is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be great. But if you don't give yourself the opportunity or the chance, you're never going to know. And the pain of regret is much worse than the pain of failure. And I think that's one of his messages that will live on 100 years from now. So it's just good to have that reminder every once in a while.
I can't say it any better. I can't really say that any better, man. Rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. Where can they find you on social media, Robby? Where can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Robby, ROBBY SEIN, and then Schwartz, my last name. I run a Seinfeld trivia page. It's one of my passions in life is Seinfeld. So it's Robby Sein Schwartz. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Yeah, all of I generally spend an hour every day just responding to comments, DMs. You know, I'll talk to anybody at any time. I've often found that if you don't, like, I reached out to you. I mean, I remember the first time I was like, hey, if you ever want to talk about, you know, again, if you don't try, if you don't ask, you don't know what could come about. So yeah, hit me up there anytime.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, it's a great page too, as well. You know, if only they have like theme music and stuff every time you go to somebody's page. Exactly going to be the Seinfeld theme song will pop up though. Oh, but
That's
thank
funny.
you. It is. Thank you so much for coming on to Shooting the Breeze. This is Shooting the Breeze with ItzJustJP, and we'll see you guys later.
Peace. All right, peace, man. Later.